Howdy, boys and girls. I don't actually care what number week it is because it's championship week. And on the Carla and Crappy Show, that's one of our favorite things of the year. Hi, Carla. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you? Cheers.
I am doing well. I needed a larger glass, so I don't actually have an East End Brewing glass or East End Brewing beer. But
I do. Hi, Scott.
But that's awfully tasty. Hi, Scott. AJ, AJ has an East End Brewing glass. I'm the only one.
I do. There's not East End beer in here. It's still repping Pittsburgh. It's Church Brewers Thunderhop in here. It's fine.
Okay.
Oh, nice.
That's nice. This one's, I have a Hitchhiker's Myrcene double IPA, which is just spectacular.
I have a woodchuck.
Shout to Andy, by the way. Shout to Andy at Hitchhiker, by the way.
So, yay!
I mean, as long as we're shouting out Pittsburgh Brewers, shout to Andy too.
Sure. We have a lot of stuff to get to. We have 37 title games that we're going to talk about. That's not actually true, but there are, I think, 7. There are 7 of them that we're going to try to get through here in short order. But as we always do, before we look ahead, we are going to look back and discuss something that made an impression of us from last weekend. Carla, did you have a good weekend? You're watching on the back patio with oceans and Florida stuff going on.
Yeah, watching football in Florida is a lovely thing, and that's actually my one thing. It's not the fact that I got to watch football sitting outside around a fire at my in-laws' house, which was lovely in and of itself. Yes. But it also has something to do with Florida. And AJ, I will apologize to you in advance because you have been telling us all year that we need to watch AAC football.
You must watch AAC football.
And if you missed the War on I-4 on Friday afternoon, you missed probably the most outstanding offensive display of any college football game all year. There were 21 points scored in 53 seconds in the fourth quarter.
Kelly and I just had dinner at AJ and Evie's house last night, and we were talking about this. It was just. Yes,
I would like to point out that I literally screamed multiple times. I was at my mom's house for Thanksgiving, and I'm watching this game, and I am screaming, "This game is so beautiful and stupid, and I love it. I want more of this, please."
Well,
there's a reason why I tell you guys to watch these games, because Group of 5 football is the best football. You can have all your defensive 10-7 Big Ten West battles all you want to. You can keep Iowa and Nebraska. Yeah, hey, listen, you can keep Iowa and Nebraska in a box on the other side of the country. Bring me UCF and USF, and let's let this party start.
It was an incredible game. I mean, it really was, and it was really we'd actually gone to a brewery earlier that day.
Okay.
And they actually had the game on, and people were watching it there. Like, I mean, and if you know Florida, like, UCF and USF are the little brothers, right? I mean, they are. When you think about
little brothers football wise, but population wise, UCF is like one of the biggest schools in the country, and so there's a lot of alumni out and about in Florida.
There are, but they don't admit it. That's the thing. If you can't go to Florida, you can't go to Florida State. You can go to Central Florida.
A lot of Pitt fans of Robert Morris, so it's fine.
Right, same thing. Yeah, it's exactly the same thing. And a lot of UT fans, Tennessee fans at MTSU, right? Same kind of concept there. But yeah, what a ridiculous game, and what a great way to start. What was an amazing weekend that all the way around. But so that was the one thing that I had. That, and apparently we're going to the Bahamas. Is this a true thing?
I need to speak with travel agents and discuss this with my budget director, but it's possible. Yeah, High University Bobcats. It might be that the Bobcats would get an invitation to play in the Bahamas Bowl, which I think I've been on record in the past few years during Bowlapalooza as my favorite bowl destination everywhere. It's like in this little high school stadium.
It's a rugby stadium.
Yeah, technically, yes. I believe that's
It's a
correct.
rugby stadium.
And nobody goes, and no one cares because it's in the Bahamas. But
I'm sorry, they have Popeyes flags.
Yes!
The only flag I salute is Popeyes.
Yes. So this is
They
something
have
we will
Popeyes
save.
flags.
This is something we'll save for Ballapalooza, because I guarantee you right now, if that is official, the Bobcats, if my Bobcats are playing in the Popeyes Bahama Bowl, that's going to be my pick to discuss for Ballapalooza. But we will get to that in a couple weeks.
I will also point out that who did accept an invitation to the Bahamas Bowl is Zombie UAB. UAB is going to the Bahamas Bowl. Welcome back, UAB. Go Blazers.
There's a chance to beat Alabama in a bowl game. Awesome. AJ, what was your one thing from last week?
Carla stole mine a little bit, so I will pivot to
Sorry.
watching Alabama get stomped and look like a floundering Big East team.
Right.
Oh, that felt good in all of my nasal cavity. I don't know why. It was just I don't know what I forget. I was making dinner. I think I was making some sort of bread. I don't know. All I know is that I'm watching Alabama miss 2 snaps back to back. And then they get the gift of Auburn screwing up and putting 12 men on the field where you're like, okay, this is where Alabama gets like one break and they score immediately. Nope, picked off. It was like it was like watching your dad fall down a hill. I don't know what it was. It was just like there was nothing. It was so pure. I don't know what to do with my hands right now.
There was a gut level. I mean, what I wanted to see out of last weekend, other than winning my game, was sort of the opposite of what actually happened. I wanted favorites to win. I needed that help to get Ohio State into the Final Four. But there's a gut level reaction to watching Alabama get crushed that I think is almost outside of half of the state of Alabama. I think I would guess that's almost a universal reaction to college football fans. I mean, it's like,
well,
yes,
my favorite part of this was not just the fact that Alabama lost and lost badly. It was the fact that Uncle Gary Danielson, is watching the game like he's calling he's calling out plays and like quarterback runs and all this stuff. And I'm like, how do you know this and Nick Saban doesn't? How is this happening? The most well-prepared football robot on the planet is confused that Jarrett Stidham can run. And
it is ugly when it breaks down. It is ugly when it breaks down.
So good.
There's no question. And boy, it was a lot of fun. My one thing from last weekend, I would, as much as I want to make the jump that everybody made in the latter part of the Ohio State Michigan game, and compare Dwayne Haskins to Cardale Jones. I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna do that yet. I was impressed with how Haskins played in the end of that game. Actually, it seemed to make a difference with play calling. He's not the runner that JT Barrett is, so the coaches took a little of that pressure off of him, and it's got a stronger arm and able to zip some balls in on crossing routes that maybe JT Barrett couldn't or wouldn't, or for whatever the reason. But we'll get to the quarterbacks for the Ohio State's appearance in the Big Ten championship game coming up here in a few minutes. But we have like 30 other games to talk about first. We're just looking at the top 20 championship games that involve top 25 teams. And there are still a bunch of those. And we actually get started on Friday with the Pac-12 championship game. This is number 12, Stanford, at number 10, Southern Cal. USC is favored by 4. Again, we're using the latest college football ranking poll numbers. AJ, what do you think about this one, Mr.
As Mr. Pac-12 is here,
Pac-12
we have a problem with this game. Number one, the Pac-12. I love you deeply. Stop playing this game at Levi Stadium in San Francisco, because no one wants to go to San Francisco on a Friday and try and get in there at like 7 p.m. They've already started tarping off the upper deck. So good job, Pac-12. Yeah, Pac-12 under tarts.
Nice.
And
There's a
then-
new hashtag. There's the new hashtag.
yeah, and if you search it, I'm the first one. So the other problem that the Pac-12 has here is both of these teams have two teams. It sounds weird to say that. There's good Stanford and bad Stanford, and there's good SC and bad SC, and I'm not sure which one's going to show up. These
teams are both absolutely baffling. We've been trying to pick games all season long. Carla will test this, and it's just like, what the hell happened?
Right.
So if you see good SC, you watch them beat Stanford on September 30th by 20. If you see bad SC, you will get the Washington State game. If you see good Stanford, you'll watch Bryce Love run for 250 yards. If you see bad Stanford, you will watch them barely beat Oregon State. There's no real way to pick this game. I'm just going to have to go based on overall defense and performances so far, and I'm going to pick USC.
Okay. Carla, what do you think?
Like AJ just said, USC crushed Stanford in week 2, but Stanford has made some changes since then. Obviously, they've gotten the different quarterback, KJ Costello, who's kind of taken this team, by the reins and really has taken ownership over the last couple of weeks with, really impressive wins. Big question mark on this game is, how is Bryce Love's ankle? You got to think he's good to go, but I mean, he was dinged up last week. It showed a little bit in that game, so there is that. Also, USC is coming off of a bye week because they played 12 straight games, and so their bye week is the last week, conveniently enough. So some interesting dynamics here.
Like playing Mercer in week 11.
Right, yeah, pretty much. So two things here that come into play that make my decision here. We talked about this last week, right? That Stanford has done everything that we didn't think it was going to do this year. It's always done the opposite.
Exactly.
So because AJ's logic is good, I think Stanford wins this game. Here's the other reason why. The Pac-12 North is 6-0 in title games. In the Pac-12 title game, the North has not lost the title game.
Okay.
So another vote for Stanford. So yeah, sure. USC should win. Stanford will.
See, now I had my mind made up, and now I'm not so sure. But I guess I'm gonna stick with my initial thing. Carla, you mentioned the changes that Stanford has made since they got stomped by SC early in the season. They're 8-1 since, and good wins. Washington and Notre Dame. That's great stuff. They've played really well since then. SC has changed a bit since then as well, and actually, you got to deal with injuries and personal stuff to get there. They gave 160 yards rushing to Bryce Love alone in that first game, in that win. Since then, the Trojans D has picked it up, and they're only giving up 150 yards rushing overall per game since then, and that's a big step forward. So. It's tempting to go with the Stanford alternate universe pick, but I'm going to stick with USC and hope maybe for like an Ohio State USC bowl matchup, because I think that would be a nice kind of throwback thing. We'll talk more about that in a minute.
I haven't had experience with that. You don't want that.
Oh, I have many bad experiences with that, and I still do for some reason. I'm not sure why that is. You don't remember the early 70s, but I certainly do. Next up, we have the All Action Conference, the AAC Championship. The number 20
America's Conference.
Number 20 Memphis versus number 14, the University of Central Florida, which is favored by a touchdown. I double checked this. AJ meant this to me when we were hanging out last night. Notable for this game that the over/under is 82 points. Carla, what do you think about this one?
Take the over.
Okay.
I mean, really, statistically, these two teams are relatively fairly even. Total offense is ridiculous. Memphis is number 5 in total offense. UCF is number 6 in total offense. I love both of these teams. I love what Scott Frost has been able to do in a quick turnaround at UCF. Scott Frost may be the next head coach at the University of Nebraska. Likely, actually. But the one difference in this game, I can't believe I'm saying this, because this is a game that's going to get, AJ, I'm using your term, it's going to get pointsy real fast, but The one difference in this game is the fact that UCF has a slightly better defense than Memphis. Memphis's defense is ranked 111th, which is abysmal. UCF's is ranked in the 70s. So at least it's kind of mediocre.
That's
I think
like
that's
all-star. That's all-star defense in the all-action conference.
Yeah. So that statistic alone, since offensively they just both put up a ton of points, and we saw what that happened last week. I'm going to go UCF because they have a slightly better defense.
You look like you're drooling over this. You look like the guy from The Simpsons going, "This is excellent." What do you think about this one?
I'm so excited for this game entirely because of 82-point over-unders. Power 6 is alive and well. I would love to see both of these teams get a shot at the playoff. Memphis wrecked UCLA, or no, they barely beat UCLA. But there's a lot of fun in this conference. The American Conference has a lot of great coaches. I'm saying this overall as the American Conference, but UCF is a fun team. I really hope that Scott Frost stays. Doesn't go to the University of Nebraska, mostly because I want to see Navy coach Ken Niumatalolo go to Navy, because I want to see option football back at Nebraska. I think that'd just be fun. But I see UCF winning this game. But it's going to be super fun, and it's the nooner. And I'm going to use my one thing for this game to promote just one tiny thing. North Texas at Florida Atlantic in the CUSA Championship. That over-under is 73. So there's a lot of points in the nooner slot. Keep that thumb ready.
Something to keep in mind. Something to keep in mind, certainly. A win for Central. I mean, a team from the AC getting an undefeated season. I'm conflicted just as a general fan about whether or not that should get them consideration in the Final Four, and they're not going to come close, even if
it won't. It won't, because the playoff committee hates the group of five, and the group of five should either A, start their own playoff, or B, just form a mega conference with like the FCS. They should just form their own league. It would be fun.
That would be fun. Mm-hmm. So I mean, UCF wins this. There's an undefeated season. There's certainly a New Year's Six bowl game. Actually, that's an automatic bid for the winner of this game as the top group of five team in the standings. And it would be fun to have an option attack back at Nebraska. But I think certainly a win here means Scott Frost gets a really, really serious look at Nebraska, which I think is his alma mater. Is that right? Do you remember that right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. There, yes. Okay. It could also mean that UCF wins here, and I will go on there. I think they will. Some unlucky power conference school, like say my team, might have to deal with the Knights in a bowl game, which I will go on the record right now as saying I would not be super stoked about that. I mentioned SC before. That's fine. I would much prefer that than having to play UCF on a bowl game on New Year's Day. But the Knights here wrap up their undefeated season and play in a big time bowl game, and and we'll see what happens with who they're going to play after that. Next up, we have the Big 12, number 11 TCU against number 3 Oklahoma, which is favored by 7. I think AJ, you're up first. What do you think?
I'm torn on this game, mostly because we're talking about a rematch. I was hoping to not see a rematch. I was hoping for full Big 12 chaos, and we were going to get Iowa State in this game, even though that would be anything in the Big 12 is a rematch because it's all round robin, anyways.
Right.
This could be the moment that the Big 12 really shoots itself in the foot, and they overreact so hard to 2014 and having Baylor and TCU fighting and Ohio State getting into the playoff and then winning. But this is their overreaction to get a championship game, to say this is the Big 12 champion. TCU beats Oklahoma. Gary Patterson ain't letting you slip twice. I think TCU gets the win. This is in Jerry World?
Yes, it is. In the Jerry Jones Dome.
In the Jerry Jones Dome. So, yeah, neutral field. I believe the TCU-Oklahoma game was in Norman this year.
I think so.
I think a neutral field. I think TCU gets it done, mostly because Gary Patterson's now gotten a second look. So
Okay.
you don't sleep on Gary Patterson in his sweaty shirts all you want to.
Ew.
You don't give him 2 chances.
Ew.
The man
Ew.
is sweaty. Leave him
I know
alone.
he's good. I know, but I relate, but still gross. Yeah. Carla,
So-
what do you think?
So this is a common theme that we could say with every game in this whole show that we're talking about, with the exception of the Big Ten title game, and that is it is really tough to beat a team twice in the same season.
Yes.
That's the logic. With this picking Stanford over USC, that would be the logic in picking Memphis over UCF. Wouldn't stun me. That would be the logic in picking TCU over Oklahoma in this one. And to be perfectly honest, if you read the stuff leading up to pregame, Gary Patterson is as loose as I've ever heard him in interviews right now. He's saying, we've got nothing to lose. Oklahoma has everything to lose at this point. And Lincoln Riley, to kind of counter that, is actually admitting we have to try really hard not to overthink our adjustments because they saw everything. We threw the book at them in the first win. So how are we going to tweak that and not overthink ourselves? Right? The mind games have already started here. There'd be a really good argument here that, yeah, AJ, I think it's possible. I think TCU can win this game and knock Oklahoma out. It depends on how tight Oklahoma is when they come out there. The reason why I'm going to say Oklahoma wins this game is because they have Baker Mayfield and because TCU's defense has not been disciplined at all. This in the last couple weeks. They had a player ejected in the first game. Their top defensive end was ejected against Oklahoma the first time they played. Last week they had safety Nick Orr was ejected for throwing a punch in the second half. So he's going to miss the first half of this game. Can the TCU defense stay disciplined enough to not get another player ejected from this game? They haven't shown me that they can. Really, they've had a player ejected pretty frequently here. You can't do that against Oklahoma. So unfortunately, I think Oklahoma gets it done just because of that. But it wouldn't stun me if Horny Toads pull this out just because Gary Patterson is getting a second look.
You mentioned the discipline and the lack of it with the TCU's defense. I'm interested about this discipline. In fact, I'm going to predict this. This will be my prediction. Regardless of what happens with this game, Baker Mayfield will, as the clock winds down in the Jerry Jones Dome, Baker Mayfield's going to take off his pants and run around the field in AT&T Stadium, waving them over his head like he's Brady Chastain. I think that's what's going to happen.
You did see that they brought his jersey out to the coin toss like he was dead, right?
I did. I saw that. Yes.
R.I.P. Baker Mayfield.
I think that could happen either way. I think when he's celebrating in a loss, he's throwing his pants at his opponents. I do think Oklahoma's going to win this game, and that's
also shout out to both of your predictions of Baker Mayfield sitting at least a half, or you hoped he sat at least a half. He sat 2 plays.
Yeah, I know that was a nice bit on the part of the Oklahoma coaching staff. SEC title game, number 6 Georgia versus number 2 Auburn, who had a big jump in the college football rankings. Auburn is favored by 2.5 to 3 points, depending on where you look. I have lost track of who goes first. Carla, I think it's you.
Okay. It's really hard not to claim that Auburn's the top team in the country right now.
Yeah.
At the moment, they're playing better than I think anybody else is right now. We saw that last week against Alabama. When they played the first time, the key that Auburn had was they just shut down Nick Chubb, right? I mean, that was how they won that game. They held Nick Chubb to 27 yards. So the key again to an Auburn win in this game is to shut down the run again. And so I went back and I looked to see what they did against Alabama to make sure that that wasn't a one-time thing, right? Mm-hmm. And it wasn't. They made Jalen Hurts the leading rusher last week for Alabama and held Damian Harris to just 51 yards. So that run defense is still right where it was when they beat Georgia. If that defense is still playing as well as it is, again, another rematch, right? So it wouldn't stun me if Georgia's able to make some adjustments to make the game closer. Sure. It's tough to beat a team twice in the same season, but unless something has changed that Georgia can figure out a way to overcome that rush defense, you're gonna end up with the same result. I think Auburn wins.
Okay, AJ.
I need to. The problem is that the key in both of the games, Georgia and Alabama, was Kerryon Johnson, and he is currently day to day with a shoulder injury that he suffered in the Alabama game. Both of the Georgia and Auburn games were in Jordan Hare, thus they don't have weird magic Auburn powers.
That's true too.
They don't have full Auburn
That's
magic
true.
powers.
That's true.
Right? So I would say that we're looking at probably. I think that's why the line is a lot closer than it is. This is a de facto home game for Georgia. Athens is like 40 minutes outside of Atlanta. Dogs are going to win. I'm picking Georgia here. I'm picking Georgia because this is, again, coming back around to it's very hard to beat the same team twice. This is effectively a home game for Georgia, and you have an unknown at running back. And the other two running backs that replaced Kerryon Johnson were either both hurt. At one point, I think they were like, hey, we're going to start running the fullback.
Yeah.
You'll notice that towards the end of the Auburn game, there was not a ton of offense. It was more or less just like the offense holding the ball as long as they could to give the defense a rest to hold off Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
So they don't have Kerryon Johnson is a true power running back.
Mm-hmm.
You need him, and if they don't have him or he is less than 70%, he was mentioned. Malzahn said he was better yesterday than he was the day before. That was yesterday. So I'm going to take a pretty good guess here that if Kerryon Johnson plays, the Auburn will be all right, but I think Georgia wins.
Okay. I'm still, I don't see enough changing from the game a couple weeks ago in terms of personnel. And it's a little iffy. But unless I'm assuming Auburn will have the same rush defense that it had in the original game, the first game, and unless Georgia has found a stray Manning wandering around the South somewhere.
There is one, but there is one, but he was Peyton's older brother. So
okay, so probably an eligibility left.
He still has the eligibility. He'll tear off the red shirt.
Okay, we can maybe work something out here in the next couple of days. Without a significant passing game, I don't see how Georgia musters the offense to win this game. I believe me, I understand the whole thing about winning twice. That is a tricky proposition. We've talked about it a couple times already. We're going to talk about it more, but I see Auburn winning this one, unless Georgia figures out how to throw the ball, and I don't see that happening. Next we go out to the Mountain West in the Mountain West Conference. Number 25 Fresno State versus unranked Boise State, which is odd because Boise State is favored by 8.5 to 9 points. AJ, what the hell's going on here?
Boise has finished the season extremely strongly. The only reason that they're not ranked is because they just lost to Fresno State. Yes. Fresno and Boise played last week. Both teams really did not seem to push the edge too much. Boise won 28-17. This game is in Boise. Last week's game was at Fresno, so effectively it's a home and home. It's like a home and home series in back-to-back weeks. Just really trying the Mountain West, just trying out some new things like soccer championships. There's a home and home. Listen, Fresno's up 28-17 in the aggregate, so right. You just got Boise. You just got to win by 3 touchdowns. Anyways,
but home field goals count for double, or road field goals count for double. So
yeah, so Fresno has 17 points. So basically, you either got to win the game or win by 17. Anyways, so I see Boise winning this game. They've looked the part in most of their games. After losing to UVA, they didn't give up more than 14 points, except for a one little aberration to Colorado State where they played a lovely 59-52 barn burner in Fort Collins. But everything else, they've not given up more than 20 points. Their defense looks great as per usual. So I'm going to give the nod to Boise.
Okay, Carla
on the blue turf.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Fresno won last week, right?
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so back-to-back weeks, Same thing. Like, we've talked about this. Can you beat a team twice in the same season? Can you beat a team back-to-back weeks? That's a new proposition.
Yes.
Jeff Tedford's done a really nice job at Fresno State turning that program around. Same thing that we just said about Scott Frost. Jeff Tedford, had some good seasons at Cal, went to Fresno State, really seems to have kind of found his thing. But at the same time, it's been a great season. They're going to get a really nice bowl game. I like Boise. I think I think they saw enough last week to be able to, playing at home, to be able to turn it around. And to be perfectly frank, they've been there before, right? This is a Boise team that knows how to win. This is a Fresno team that is learning how to win. And will continue to get better. But I like Boise at home on the blue turf.
Okay. I don't actually have any idea how this game will go because I will be honest. This is AJ's realm. These West Coast games, I'm in bed. I don't have any idea. What I really want to happen is just sort of like when this game gets started at the start of my shift. I'm gonna move my microphone over here. I want to sit back in my chair and I work and I want to look up at these TVs and I just want the blue turf to sort of wash over my eyeballs, like it's a cool mountain breeze, and I want to relax and enjoy some ridiculous West Coast football. And then if I have to be more specific about this, the notion, the back-to-back weeks notion, that makes it really, really tough on Fresno State. I think Boise State's actually the better team here. They're playing at home. The blue turf, all of that stuff. I see Boise State winning this fairly easily and wrapping up a Mountain West title. In the ACC, not to be mistaken with the AAC, we have number 7 Miami versus number 1 Clemson. Clemson is favored by 9.5 points, which I think is the biggest line we're looking at in all the games we're talking about. Carla, what do you think?
Well, first of all, you have to say Clemson with a P to make it accurate.
Clemson. C-L-I-M. C-L-I-M-P.
S-U-N.
Yes.
S-U-N. Yeah.
No, it's S-I-N. It's Clemson.
Clemson. Correct.
Okay.
Clemson.
Yeah, I would. Yeah.
Shout out to that campus. It's beautiful. I've been there. Weirdly, I've been there. I've done work there. So shout out to Clemson and the camera that they have on Howard's Rock. I've seen it.
Hey, the director that I work with went to Clemson. So hi, Melanie.
Hi, Melanie.
So and she might actually be listening. So hi. Miami's offense, we've had questions about it all year, right? With the exception of the Notre Dame game. This was the Miami, can you do something other than like the last 4 minutes of the game? They've gotten a lot better. They dominated Notre Dame. They're going against the number 6 offense or number 6 defense in the country. This is a defense that they haven't seen all year. And it's number 9, and Clemson's defense is number 9 against the pass. I think that's key in this one because that's how Miami lives and dies, right? They live and die by their passing game. They're going up against the toughest passing defense they've faced all year. And Clemson hasn't shown me a reason to not think that they're capable of winning this game. They've looked good, other than that one slip up, in the Carrier Dome. But hey, strange things happen in the Carrier Dome. So I don't see any reason why not to pick Clemson in this game.
I guess I go. It's Clemson. It's Clemson. Sorry, it's not even close. Miami has been a wonderful story this year. The U is back, but Clemson is a more talented team. And like Carla said, the one thing that Miami does well is throw the ball. What does Clemson do well? Stop people throwing the ball. Miami does not have a good running game at all. You saw what happened with Pitt. Pitt focused their entire defense on stopping the pass. They didn't care about running the football. Miami tries really hard to move out to bubble screens and try to get receivers into space, and it just was not working. Brent Venables is a better defensive coordinator than Pat Narduzzi and the Pitt staff. Y'all going down, Miami. I'm sorry. Clemson in a landslide on this one.
And Clemson's got a slightly advantage over personnel. over to the Pitt Panthers as well. Just a little.
Just a little bit. I mean, hey, listen. By the way, shout out to Pat Narduzzi for the halftime speech where he said we saw it in South Carolina last year, and it's happening in Pittsburgh this year. And it did not even waver. There wasn't a might happen. It is happening.
It is happening in Pittsburgh right now. I still have personally, I have nightmares of a 31-0 from almost a year ago, 11 months ago. And the thing that I remember seeing over and over
was my son jumping off the couch because you were at my house.
Even after, just that was, we were only at your house for a half, and I continued to watch when I got home for some unknown reason. But I remember seeing JT Barrett dropping back, and immediately there is pressure, and it's a perfectly formed semicircle around the pocket. And it is consistent. It is disciplined. And I say that that's an important thing because JT Barrett had nowhere to go. We know that he likes to, when he's pressured, he can run, and that sort of makes Ohio State's offense what it is. And he's absolutely was not able to do that. So when the Miami Hurricanes want to throw the football in this game on Saturday evening, Clemson's front seven is as good or better than it was a year ago, and Miami's going to face the same kind of pressure. I don't know that Malik Rozier is the same has the same kind of running ability even that JT Barrett does. They're going to have a tough time making their offense work against Clemson's defense, and that will be the difference in this game. And AJ, I kind of agree. If any of these games have a chance of being kind of ugly, I think this could be the one. And then we wrap up with as you might predict with the Big Ten championship. Number 8 Ohio State versus number 4 Wisconsin. Ohio State is favored by 6 or 7 points. AJ, what do you think?
Wisconsin has played a weak-ass Big Ten West schedule. Ohio State got drubbed at home by Oklahoma. They went to Iowa and forgot everything. Literally, they crossed the Iowa border and forgot what the game of football was.
Yeah, we're gonna take a weekend off, Coach, if that's okay.
You still have a game? Nah, it's fine. It's Iowa. Kirk Ferentz hung all of the points he's been saving. Listen, he's been saving those coupons. They were double coupons, and he saved all of them up and he cashed them all in. By the way, Iowa didn't score more than 14 points the rest of the year. Anyways, so hey, Crappy, how's Ohio State's run defense?
Ohio State's run defense has been pretty good. Good.
Okay. They've got Doak Walker Award finalist Jonathan Taylor, not Jonathan Taylor Thomas, just Jonathan Taylor. Stop there. Yeah,
James Taylor, is it? No.
No, B.E. Taylor. That's who he's related to.
Okay.
the other one.
Here's a Pittsburgh joke for everybody.
Wisconsin's got like a low-key good passing offense.
Brooke is like the perfect Wisconsin quarterback, in that he's since it's like annoying, in that he's sort of good, and good enough that when they take a break from the rushing offense that he can complete passes, and it's just like, just stop it. You're not actually this good.
Here's the thing. They distribute the ball extremely well. The top receiver for Wisconsin has 501 yards for the season. Second is 471, third is 354, fourth is 312. So they distribute the ball really well. There's not one guy you have to key on, and that is easily that guy. The tight end gets a lot of targets. Tony Fumagalli was targeted 56 times this year. But the rest of the team is kind of just evenly distributed out. They really love feeding the ball to Jonathan Taylor. He's got 258 rushes this year. They feed him.
Sure.
He's got 1,800 yards. He's a Doak Walker Award finalist over Rashad Penny, which is a travesty in and of itself. But he is a really, really great running back, and I'm really sorry, Crappy, you got to see him for at least another 2 years because he's a freshman. So
he's got to see Nick Bosa for at least one more year.
So I'm expecting Wisconsin to play tight, but if Ohio State can get out and throw up some big plays, I don't think Wisconsin has the capability to go big play for big play with Ohio State.
Right.
If Ohio State wants to get into a 10 to 11 play drive battle with Wisconsin, that's a bad idea. Wisconsin's very good at 10 to 11 play drives and killing you with efficiency. Ohio State's got to blow up the building. Okay. So this is I think this is where it's going to come down. It's going to come down to Ohio State's big plays versus Wisconsin's efficiency. Can Ohio State put up more big plays? I think they can. Wisconsin does have a pretty good defense too, but I don't know if those are I don't know if that's based on the fact that Wisconsin ain't playing nobody, Paul, or if that's just Wisconsin actually having a good defense. So, yeah, I'm picking Ohio State here, but
okay.
I think Wisconsin's going to keep this closer than the line.
Okay, Carla, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm with you on the way Ohio State wins this game is the big play. That's really, they have to dominate the big play to be able to put up enough points. Because you're right. Wisconsin's the number one, statistically, they're the number one defense in the country right now. And they're allowing the second fewest passing yards per game of any defense in the country. Again, against competition that is we're skeptical on the level of the competition here.
Right.
But the number two or the number one defense in allowing passing yards is Michigan. So, okay, so you're facing really good pass defenses in back-to-back weeks. So I went and looked at the statistics from last week's game against Michigan. How did Ohio State beat Michigan? They figured out a way to run the football, right? They used the run to be able to set up the passing plays, and that worked really well, and they beat Michigan. Here's the problem with that theory going up against Wisconsin. They're the number one rush defense in the country.
Right.
So if Ohio State is going to win this game, they have to score on the big play. That's absolutely right, because they're not going to be able to rely on that run game to be able to give enough separation based on, last week. I mean, Ohio State didn't start all that great, but they were able to figure that out and move things around and be able to run to set up passes, and it worked out for them. That might not be an option this week. So I'm going to be the contrarian on the show this week and say Badgers are annoying, and they're going to be really annoying this week. I'm sorry. I think Wisconsin wins.
Boo. That's not.
Somebody has to do it.
I know, and it's not a bad pick because I look at this, and I kind of think, and this is a debate that's going around in Ohio State message boards and all of this other annoying things. Do you actually want Dwayne Haskins in here to have a better run pass balance? Do you have someone who can maybe hit a long ball with a little more efficiency than JT Barrett can? I think it's possible, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure that's the answer. I still think having JT Barrett, his passing game, and especially his ability to scramble and create to get yardage when he pulls the ball down or on design quarterback keepers. And that's something that Haskins does not do well. Granted, he doesn't have to do a lot of it. He only would have to do a little to be effective, but he will not break something like that JT Barrett could. I'm going to say, and I have to hedge this a little bit. I mean, JT Barrett was just upgraded to probable for the game, and everyone knows he's going to play. But if Barrett can do that, if JT Barrett is the quarterback, and he can help keep Wisconsin's defense off balance, then I think that is a good sign for Ohio State's offense. And that's when that's when the drives that he was in for against Michigan, that's when those worked. That's when the offense runs really well. It's going to be a game like last weekend's was against a really good defense. But I'm going to say if JT's ready to go and able to play the offense that he runs, that's going to be enough, and that will be a Big Ten championship for my Buckeyes. Boys and girls, we're going to be gone for a couple weeks, and then we will be back in mid-September. Watch for. Thank you. We watch for announcements, but Bowlapalooza, Cast of Thousands. I don't know if we're actually going to have a Cast of Thousands, but I have to say that's just sort of because that's what we've always done.
Well, we should be smaller if we're going to the Bahamas.
Right. So we're going to see. We might be in the Bahamas. This possibility. Or we might just kind of sort of all be where we are right now. But we'll see how that goes. So expect a Bowlapalooza show coming up here in a couple weeks. We will take you through some of the oddest, most fun bowl matchups that are coming up, and then we'll see how it goes from there. AJ, thank you.
I have breaking news.
Breaking news.
Sources, and by sources I mean ESPN's website, have confirmed the Bahamas Bowl is UAB versus your Ohio Bobcats.
Yes,
that is official, y'all. We're going to the Bahamas.
We're going to the Bahamas. We're going. Oh God. Carla. Carla, thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I'll talk to my travel agent.
We'll talk. We're going to work out travel details. We're going to see what the budget's going to do, and we will see you back here or there for Bowlapalooza in mid-December. Thank you, guys. Enjoy Championship Week. We'll talk to you again soon.